Dandadan, the anime that has been carrying the fall season of anime of 2024, and better late than never, I've decided to sculpt Okarun. As always, the first step is to make the metal skeleton. Then of course I had to drill holes in the base. I did that by using my Dremel. 2 for Okarun, since like any regular person, he is standing on 2 legs, and 1 for Turbo Granny, since I want to add her onto the plate as well. And once I drilled in the holes, I basically bent the wire in the position that I wanted the figure, put it onto the base and wrapped it with some aluminum foil. And with that, the basics for Okarun are basically done. But before I added some clay, I went ahead and sculpted not Monkey D. Luffy, but Turbo Granny. And just like I did with Okarun, I first started by making the wire skeleton, bent it into position and then covered it with clay. Since the clay needs to be very thin on the wires, I used Cosclay. The reason being, Cosclay is a lot more sticky than Super Sculpey, which I usually use. So it sticks better to the wire, making it easier to sculpt. Since I was too lazy to put it in the oven, I used a simple lighter and hardened the clay. It's not really effective to harden the clay with a lighter, it's just faster and lets me hold the clay without disfiguring it. For the head, I used Super Sculpey since the wire was basically covered. It's quite a simple build since it doesn't really have that many details, so this was actually quite fast to make. And after I popped the head onto the figure, I added some ears, which was quite simple since they are basically just triangles. Once the rough shapes were added, I pressed in the nose and the mouth. Also, most of the details would be added in the painting process. To add this weird round plate thing, which I have no clue what to call it, so I did what any reasonable guy my age would do and asked ChatGPT. And apparently these things are called koban. And since I really wanted to get sure, I went ahead and actually kinda read the article in Wikipedia, and yeah, they are called koban. Also, fuck AI art. To make that koban, I stacked together some paper, glued it together with super glue and then cut it to shape using a small scissor. I could have used clay, but I wanted to do it fast and didn't want it to break, so I used paper. And to finish Turbo Granny off, I added the little bell, which is just a small clay ball. Since that is done, I can finally move on to the figure itself. As always, after having made the wire skeleton, I threw some clay onto the figure to cover it entirely. Well, at least I tried to. There we go. I then began sculpting the legs. Usually it's quite simple, but since Okarun doesn't really have that many muscles, it kinda sucks making legs, because they are just very thin. But after I went ahead and did the shins, I started doing the rolled up pants. Sculpting them was a bit of a challenge because at first I needed to make the thighs a little bit bigger and then add some clay noodles to make the wrinkles of the pants. I wanted to make it as accurate as possible to the reference picture I had, but it was a bit of a challenge since it was 2-dimensional and the shapes in the 3rd dimension don't really make sense, so I had to invent some of the wrinkles. I don't really like doing this because I don't really get the shapes right and usually they look kind of odd, but I think I kinda got it right, but yeah, painting it was a bit weird afterwards. The rolled up parts, on the other hand, were very easy to make, since they are basically just thicker clay strips that I wrapped around the legs. I then cut the excess bits off and smoothed them down to make it appear one piece.
Can we get much higher?
Making the hoodie was just as hard as making the pants. I tried making it appear as in the picture, but that didn't really work out, so I had to use more wrinkles than I wanted to, and yeah, the end result is kinda okay. I don't know, I just need to get better at making clothes without reference pictures, because it's not that easy. Well, anyways, the way I did the hoodie was like I usually do hoodies. I mean, anyway, yeah, I did it by using thicker clay noodles for the looser bits and thinner clay noodles for the sleeves, which in his case are rolled up. Since Okarun in this form has a hunched back, I had to add a lot of clay and make it more rounded on the back. And since, like his pants, the sleeves are rolled up, I used a thicker clay strip to make the cuffs, which I again cut to shape and smoothed them down to make it appear as one piece. After that, I used my pointy wooden tool to press in some wrinkles onto the cuffs of the hoodie and the pants. Since the pants are ready and the hoodie is basically finished, I was finally able to start making the head. Once I rolled out the clay ball in the appropriate size that I would need it, I started making the basic head shape and then just added some details for the eyes and the nose. I also made sure to make his eyebrows face downwards to give him an angry appearance. Now the good thing with that head sculpt is that I don't need to make the mouth. The reason being is that when Okarun enters this turbo granny yokai state, his mouth changes into this mask with a lot of teeth. Anyways, to make Okarun's mask, I wrapped a round piece of clay around the mouth section of the head, carved it to shape and added a middle line. That middle line is then used to make the teeth. I first cut in a slight dent and then pressed in countless of lines, which I connected by rounding them up. While it might look fun, this took actually a shit ton of time. Now, I'ma be honest with you, I'm always thankful when I don't have to sculpt a regular plain anime face, because they are two-dimensional, they are flat, and projecting them into the three-dimensional world isn't easy. Which is why, for some reason, at least for me, it is easier to make these detailed and complicated faces like, for example, Chainsaw Man's head and Okarun's yokai form right, than making plain and simple anime faces. I mean, sure, they might be more effort than making these simple faces, but it is exactly because they are so detailed that it is easier to make them. I don't know if that makes sense, but I think those who sculpt will understand. And simple as that, these are the teeth. After the mask was finished, I threw it in the oven and baked it. I needed the head to be hard because it is easier to sculpt the hair that way. But before I did the hair, I drilled in a hole in the back of the head and glued in a piece of wire. That way it is easier to glue it on to the neck of the figure and the head wouldn't break off easily. Which is why I did exactly that, only to notice that, hey, I need to make the hair first. So I had to decapitate him and do the hair. Anyways, to make that exact hair, I rolled multiple pieces of clay into a pointy cone shape, which I gave a little bit of a wave. Now at this point you might have noticed that I'm not actually sculpting the traditional Okarun that you can see everywhere in the promotional pictures. Dandadan is an anime which has a rather pop art style. So I looked up a few artworks on Google and I found this one. I really like this one and I think it looks a bit cooler than the regular black and red one that Okarun has. So I've decided to make this one with a twist. And the twist being that I would cel shade it. The thing is, I sadly have to do this in 2 videos, so I'm very sorry, but it was just so much that it wouldn't fit into one. But stay tuned, I'm currently editing it. It will take me a little while, but it'll definitely be released soon, so don't worry about it. And trust me, it turned out really, really good. Enough yapping, back to the figure. The next step was making the hood, and for that I rolled out a piece of triangular clay, cut in a triangle and added the triangular bits together. After that I added it to the back of the figure. Since the basic shape of the hood wasn't perfect, I had to add some more pieces of clay to make it seem more natural. Following the hoodie, I made the hands. But since this video is already long enough as it is, I decided to not record it. If you want to see how I make my hands, you should go and check out the Spider-Man 2099 sculpture I did. The only difference is that I had to make them smaller. So after I did the hands, I had to glue them on, which was really simple as you can see. And since humans not only have hands, I went ahead and did the feet as well. Like always, when adding another body part, you first have to get the basic shape of the foot right. Once I got that right, I cut in the individual toes. I followed that up by using one of my thin loop tools that I did and rounded the toes up. Then, using another loop tool I made, I added the ankles and overall some more detail on the foot. The last step was just adding the toenails. Since I'm at a point where the figure is basically done, I need to make Okarun's glasses. I thought about it really hard and the only thing that came to mind was using a box of Tic Tac. Or at least the transparent plastic. So naturally, the first thing I did was empty the box out. Then I removed the lid and cut out one side of the Tic Tac box. Now to cut out the glasses themselves, I used a half-round wood carving tool and pressed out the individual acrylic circles. And to make the frame, I cut a very small piece of wire and connected it to the 2 acrylic circles. The difficulty here was that the acrylic doesn't really stick to superglue, so I had to do it again with a piece of plastic and it worked, but it isn't perfect. But it's good enough for me because you probably won't see it later on. So, you might have realized it while watching the anime, but Okarun has some sort of flaming effect around the top half of his torso. I don't really know how to call it, but at this point in time, I don't really know if I can recreate it in 3D. So I will try it using some Cosclay, but I can't guarantee that it will look good. If it doesn't look good, I'll leave it out because I don't want to ruin how it looks. I really like how it looks so far, so yeah, I'll just go ahead and try it, I guess. To make these flame effects, like I said, I used Cosclay and then added random pieces of clay onto random spots of the top half of the figure. And I'm gonna be honest, it looks amazing. It turned out much better than I thought, and I'm really happy with the result. And it actually sucked less to make than I thought it would, which is a good thing. Now the last thing I had to do, which I almost forgot, was make Okarun's bangs. Just like with the flame effect, I made them using Cosclay. You might have noticed that I'm not really consistent with what I'm saying in regards to how much I want to upload on YouTube and how often I want to upload. I feel like I'm more ambitious than I can actually make. I can't produce that fast, I'm really sorry. I'm doing my best, but I am not good at time management. But I'm working on it. And there you have it. Okarun is now basically finished. Well, at least the sculpting process. Like I said earlier, this video is already long enough as it is, and since I want to do cell shading, it would take even longer. I mean, this video is 20 minutes long. If I would have added the cell shading part, it would have been 50. Anyways, if you want to know what I'm doing, what I'm up to, what projects I'm working on, you should definitely follow my Instagram. I am a lot more active there, so you're always gonna see how far I'm along with the project I'm working on. And you'll also get a closer look at how the sculptures and other stuff that I'm doing look. I mean, I'm currently working on 3 things from solo leveling, and I'm having a few complications, which is why it's taking me that long to make them. But I'm finished soon, and then I have to upload like 4 more videos, which is gonna take me a long time, and I'm not looking forward to it, but I'm gonna do it. So yeah, I'm sorry, but stay tuned for that. I'll try to get it out as fast as I can. That's the end of the video. I hope I see you soon, and yeah, bye bye. I don't think I can leave you off with no sneak peek at all, so here's how the finished sculpture looks.